Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Got a couple of different kind of separate things to talk about. I mean, it's connected, but sort of separate. First part is news, stuff that's happened today. Many of you probably already aware of it, but I thought I'd go ahead and cover it. And then part two of this video is more some commentary of something that I have to say, and I hope that you stick around to watch it and listen. Before I get started, I want to let you know that our good friends that have the soap business, Grafted and Grace Creations, you should know about that. There's a link down in the description to their website. Best soap ever. It's what I use on my beard. It's what I use on my hair. It's what I use on my body. She has deodorant now, and we use that in our home. That's the only products we use in our home, and they're absolutely the best, the absolute best. It's all handmade. It's all natural. And it lathers better than any soap I've ever, especially any natural, handmade, homemade type soap. It's the best. Anyways, she's running a special right now. If you use the promo code FALL, F-A-L-L, you'll get 15% off your order. Now, she's been doing a deal the last couple of months where if you order, 15% of the proceeds goes to our fire department. And there's, you folks have been doing that, and we've been able to buy some equipment. We bought some blood pressure monitors and a few other things with that. So that was a huge benefit to what we're doing with our emergency response team and the fire department. But now she's giving the savings back to you. So if you use promo code FALL, you get 15% off of the best soap. And she has other things, like I said, deodorant. She's got some ointment stuff and different things like that. But get on there. She has subscription services if you're interested in that. Really good people, some of the best friends that we have in the whole world, and you will absolutely love the product. Now, let's get on with the news. First things first, it looks, and I haven't actually looked at the news in the last couple hours, so there could be things that's changed and new information. But based on what I know, several thousand, and I say several because the number is, I'm seeing varying numbers, anywhere between 1,200 up to around 3,000 of Hezbollah, Lebanese people in Lebanon, and some also in Syria. Well, they blew up today in some form or fashion. I don't mean that necessarily in a joking way. I mean it in a literal way. Apparently, their pagers, they got new pagers so that they could be activated for some type of action if Israel invaded or whatever. And those, well, they blew up. Last I heard, only about 8 or 10 had died, but the rest were in some serious conditions. Limbs have been blown off. It's very graphic. There's lots of videos. Hospitals are being shut down because they're overwhelmed. They've declared a state of emergency there. Last I saw that Israel had not claimed doing this, but everyone is saying all the evidence is pointing that this is a Mossad operation that was done. It's possible that the CIA was involved in it too, but this is right out of James Bond. This really is right out of James Bond, folks. This is crazy. Few different things. I'm not probably going to go deep into this, not a deep dive, but anyways. That cell phones and pagers can be exploded. Apparently they're saying that they had purchased these recently, and somehow whoever had done this, Israel and CIA, Mossad and CIA, had implanted a malware software on these, causing them to heat up and blow up. But I've also heard other people online saying that most of these ones they're not capable of doing that, no matter how much they heat up. So there may be stuff that we're not being told yet, and that's typical. But this is a different kind of warfare. This is a kinetic cyber warfare, really the first we've ever seen of this. And I mean, again, I'm not picking sides. I'm just trying to view this as how people would perceive this. And I know if that was done to my people, I would be extremely furious. And so the possibility of things kind of spiraling really quickly, escalating very quickly, I think it's a possibility. And I know you could say, well, they took out all their people. like I said, the number's somewhere between 1,200 and 3,000. And the last I saw, Hezbollah has like over 100,000 people. So they have enough people to still do something. But this is crazy. This is serious. It makes me want to not have my phone in my pocket. You know, they had pagers on their hip and they blew up. So there's people that have leg damage and abdominal damage and groin damage and all this kind of stuff. It's graphic, and there's a lot of graphic footage of it out there. So I would be waiting for some escalatory type actions here soon. So just thought I would throw that out there. Now, what I really want to passionately say to you today, and some of you may really enjoy this and get it, and others may just like, oh my gosh, he's dragging on and droning on, because I get those in the comments, and I couldn't care less when people say that. If you don't like how I talk, there's about 10 trillion other YouTube channels and videos out there. Go out and watch one of them. I mean, you're not hurting my feelings. Anyways, so I was having a conversation with my wife, and the conversation wasn't specifically about this, but I mentioned in the conversation, I don't even know exactly how we got to this point in the conversation, but I mentioned that, you know, there are people in real life and people online that just assume that I must just be obsessed with preparedness, that I must just focus on it all the time, and I'm constantly living in fear, and I'm constantly trying to figure out what's going on in the world today, and all this kind of stuff, that I'm just, my every waking moment is just, you know, prepping. And the reality is it's the opposite of that. That's not true at all. In fact, other than the time that I allot during the day to do preparations for these videos, I really spend very little time doing that. You know, I have people, even in our own little real world tribe, they'll be like, oh, did you watch so-and-so's video the other day? Did you watch so-and-so's video? You know, other prepper channels. I'm like, no, I hardly ever watch any of those videos. And I don't watch them. And I'm not praising myself or anything like that. But I told my wife, I said, I think it's because from a very, very early age, because I grew up this way, and the people around me were this way. They were, even though the term wasn't coined back then, they were preppers, right? Survivalists and stuff like that. And instead of being obsessed with prepping and just like consuming your every moment to where it's just an obsession, I have chosen to try to do my best to live my life in a state of preparedness, so that no matter what happens, whether it's the end of the world or tornado or a car wreck or some fool tries to rob me and pickpocket me, or you know, our child falls off their bike and breaks their ankle, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, the sheep gets caught up in the fence and tears herself open, or anything, car breaks down. I've tried to live my life in a state of preparedness so that no matter what happens, I'm just ready for it. And I realize that I have done I feel maybe a disservice to you, that over the years that I've made these videos, I'm not so sure I've conveyed that message. I feel, now that I've thought about this quite a bit today, I feel like I have not conveyed that kind of message in the way that I should have. And so I want to try to at least start that process. That, yes, you need to know these things. Yes, you need to be prepared. You need to have stuff. You need to have food and medical and skills and all this kind of stuff. But you need to get to where your mindset and your skill level is in a place that you're just living in a state of preparedness, so that no matter what happens, you're just ready. And when you're at that point, you don't have to be obsessing over it. You don't have to be thinking about it. I don't. I'm not obsessing over this stuff all the time. Let me give you an example. And I'm going to warn you, this example is going to sound pretty exciting, but honestly, it's much less exciting than it sounds. Many years ago when I was younger, I was doing martial arts a little bit, not real heavy, but I was doing it. And I had the opportunity to meet a man, older. He was a grandmaster of actually several different arts. And got to train with him a little bit. Not like long term, I wasn't becoming some, real cool guy with it. I just got the opportunity. And this guy was I mean, we're talking top of the line. I mean, this guy had trained with like Ed Parker and the Tracy brothers and knew Bruce Lee. And, I mean, this guy was like top tier kind of stuff. And I was asking him one day because he was just really cool. He didn't, if you had just seen him on the street, you would have never in the million years guessed that this guy was literally a walking lethal weapon, right? Because he had black belts and masters in several different art forms, martial art forms. And so I asked him one day, I said, when you're just normal, when you're just out and about, you go to the grocery store, right? You go to Walmart or wherever. I said, are you just like constantly just in this state of like, like he's just ready at any moment just to, he's walking down the grocery aisle and is pushing a shopping cart and he's just waiting for the ninjas to jump out at him. And he laughed and he said, no, absolutely not. He said, in fact, on a day-to-day basis, he says, I don't think about it. He says, I don't think about it. He says, unless I'm here in the studio and I'm training or training others, he says, I don't think about it on my daily basis. He says, if I go to the store or walking down the street, he says, I'm not just this, it's about to hit the fan and I've got to be prepared. And he said, the reason is, he says, I have mastered the arts so much and I have become confident in myself. He says that I know that at any point in time when a threat comes to me, I know that I have the capability of just jumping into, into the game, into the fight, and defend myself. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at, that we're not obsessing constantly about, oh my goodness, I have to be ready. I may have to grab my bug out bag and run out into these woods. I may have to, draw my weapon and take on a threat. I may have to lock my home down because, the Chi-Coms are coming or whatever it is, or Haitians or anything, I now have to start, cutting my own firewood with my bare hands and buck knife and, drinking out of the creek. That you're not obsessing about it, but that you know enough, and I don't know that you even have to be a master at it, but that you know enough and you're confident at it, and that you've lived your life in a level of preparedness so that you know mentally that you're able to handle a situation, and physically in a way that you have enough skills to take on that situation. And that's really where we should be. That's really the place that we should be, not constantly obsessing and living in a state of fear that the next big, thing is going to drop on top of us, that the next thing is going to collapse, or that this is going to happen, that whatever that this is going to happen. Instead of living that way, live your life. Okay? Yes, along the way, you are developing your skills. You are developing your homestead. You're doing it because you know it's the right thing to do. You're doing it because that's how humans have always been. You're doing it because you enjoy it and you enjoy the freedom it brings you, but you're not doing it necessarily because you're obsessed with it. And that's really where we need to be. Because I know people, and it doesn't mean that they're any less prepared, but I know people personally that they're just obsessed with, that we have to always be ready to defend ourselves from a threat. And it's like they're walking around in this constant, state of, I'm just at any moment ready to take on a threat. And they make comments to me sometimes like, you should be more in that, that zone all the time. And I say, well, I mean, I am. I am in that zone of I'm ready to take on a threat, but I don't have to just obsess about it. It's become a natural reflex. Now, I'm not trying to convey a message that I'm a master at this, but I'm confident enough because I've been through many things, and I've raised enough food, and I've defended myself in situations, and I've repaired things, and I've gone through hardships, and I've put my mind and my body to the test that I feel confident enough that I can survive most things. And because of that, I don't live in this state of perpetual obsession and worry about just waiting for it to collapse. I just live my life, and I suspect that it could be a strong possibility that if there ever was, the big thing happen all at once. You know, the big bomb drop, literally. Whatever it is, you know, a CME, an EMP, I suspect it may actually, I may not be the first one to know. Because I'm living my life, you know, every day. I'm doing so much stuff in our community and at our homestead and in the greater community around us that it's not an obsession, but yet I know I'm prepared. You know, I have stuff in my vehicle, things in our home. Our home is as self-sufficient as we can make it, and we're constantly growing and expanding that. And so that I'm not living in that state of fear, I'm living in a state of preparedness. And that's really where we need to be. And I think it's probably easier than you think, because I think a huge portion of that is psychological. A huge portion is just your mind accepting the fact that you're just ready. Our ancestors did this. Our ancestors, the pioneers, the early homesteaders and stuff, they weren't walking around just constantly, I've got to constantly be on guard. There may have been times because they felt the threat was near, but most of their lives was we're just trying to do stuff. But guess what? They knew how to react. They knew how to survive. They knew how to make it no matter what, because a big part of it is they had that determination. And we have to get back to that place where it's not an obsession, but it's a level of confidence and understanding that we can take on whatever life throws at us. And yeah, we may not survive, but we're going to do the very best that we can because we've put our all into it. And we have that resiliency and that determination and that grit to get through these troubled times. That's where we need to be. And I suggest that you start getting to that place as fast as possible, because I do think things are speeding up. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.